So recently I did a few videos focusing on Beast Mode fragrances. We did Beast Mode Sillage, 20 fragrances, and then after that we did Beast Mode Performance, and those are the fragrances that last a long time. So today we're talking about projection, and these are my 20 fragrances from my collection that have the biggest, most projection. So if you're curious to find out what they are, please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. We have 20 fragrances and I want to get through them really quickly. But before I jump into the selections of fragrances, I just want to tell you a little bit about what projection is. So we already know what sillage is. Sillage is the trail that you leave behind, the fragrance trail. Performance, obviously, or the longevity is how long a fragrance lasts. And finally, the projection. Projection is how much the fragrance projects off of you, how much of a cloud you have on you. So these fragrances, even though there's some overlap with the performance and the sillage video, there are a few ones here, a few new ones here, and these ones leave the biggest clouds for me. Like if I put the fragrance on, people around me can smell me when I'm standing, and it's the cloud around me rather than when you've left the room and that's the sillage, the trail you've left behind. Whereas these fragrances are what cloud is around me when I'm standing in a room. So I hope that makes sense to you, but if you have any questions or comments, please list below. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start off with a couple of designers and two fragrances from the house of Tom Ford, and we're going with Tuscan Leather for the first one. I picked this one because it's a big cloud. It's huge, and usually I achieve clouds with spraying rather than dabbing, if that makes sense. That's why I've always never been a fan of dabbing. And of course you can't dab from the decanter bottle, but it comes with a spray, and you can spray, and then you can spray yourself with it, and then that's when I achieve the cloud. And here with Tuscan Leather, it is a big projection, lots of projection, and it's really big and strong. It also lasts quite a long time, plus the sillage is also excellent here, but projection with this one is out of this world. So you spray it and you're standing around and it's just projecting off of you, and people will notice your smell. So that's the first one. It is Tuscan Leather. And then the next one from Tom Ford, I think you probably guessed it because I've already featured this one in the sillage video, and that is Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. Now this one, I think these two are some of the most potent fragrances from the house. I might actually include Fucking Fabulous and also maybe Oud Intense and even Tobacco Oud Intense, but Tobacco Oud is also quite up there, but I don't currently have one in my collection. But Tobacco Vanille, man, it is so loud. And the projection is massive. So you just spray it a bunch on you, and then you're standing, and then people can smell you quite a long way. And that's the kind of fragrances I like: big, strong, intense. But you got to be careful. You can't wear this kind of fragrance everywhere because it is just so strong and potent. But if you want great projection, Tobacco Vanille is definitely one to try. Now, a recent one that I picked up recently, and it's a fragrance that I didn't fall in love with right away, but it grew on me. It's from the house of MAISON Francis KURKDJIAN, and this is BACCARAT Rouge 540. Now this one has massive cloud. It's big, and I think when I first smelled it, and then many times I was smelling it, it just didn't do it for me because it was just intense, and I would go anosmic. But the cloud is huge, the projection is awesome, it's amazing. So you just spray it on and it just projects off of you. But this one actually tends to garner compliments compared to the other ones, whereas the other ones that I've already mentioned, people already notice, they'll notice it, but they don't necessarily always get compliments, especially Tuscan Leather. Tobacco Vanille does. This one is a compliment magnet. So it not only has a big cloud, and it has a big amount of projection, but man, it is so good. The compliments are out of this world. So even though it's not necessarily an intense style of fragrance, I think it's more of a, I'm not going to say it's a freshie, but it kind of acts like it, but it is big. The cloud is really big. So that is BACCARAT Rouge 540. I am so happy at myself for actually finally falling for this one. It took me a long time. This has been out for years. maybe 3 years, 2 years, I think, somewhere around there. But I've fallen in love with it slowly. It grew on me. Now I'm absolutely head over heels with it. But that's BACCARAT Rouge 540. But let me know also, guys, have you ever smelled something that you didn't really love instantly, but like years later it grew on you and now you're head over heels for it? Do put a comment down and let me know if there are fragrances like that, because this one definitely was not a love at first sniff, but it is major love for me now. So that's BACCARAT Rouge 540. And speaking of the house of Maison Francis KURKDJIAN, I'm going to include Oud Silk Mood, another one that's really big. It's papyrus, it's patchouli, it's rose, it's oud. It is intense, and the cloud is big, and the projection is awesome. It projects big, just spray minimal amounts and you'll be fine. But if you're looking to get attention, attract people, positively or perhaps negatively, then this is definitely one for you to try. This is Oud Silk Mood from Maison Francis KURKDJIAN. And speaking of rose and oud and patchouli, perhaps papyrus, but this one actually is most of those notes. We've got patchouli, we've got rose, and we also have the oud, and recently I did a review for it. This is black oud. Big projection, major projection. It also has major sillage and performances out of this world as well. You've got everything covered here. So if you want big beastly fragrance, this is a big one for you, a good one for you to try. And this is black oud. I think a lot of people know this one and pretty much know what this is all about. You've got to love rose though. You've got to love oud, and if you love that combo, this is one of the best. This is black oud. Check it out. Next, we're going with the fragrance from the house of ROJA Parfums. This is DIAGHILEV. Now this one, wow, it is so big, so big. It is not only like long lasting, not only like big sillage, because this sprays like a big sillage or big cloud when you're spraying it, but man, it projects off of you so much. You only need a few minimal sprays with this one. It's amazing. The projection is awesome with this one. Plus it smells so good. It's also very classic smelling, but it is a really beautiful chic fragrance and a masterfully created fragrance from the house of ROJA Parfums. And if you don't know this one, do check out my review. We did a full bottle giveaway of this one via Saffron, and I don't know who won, but whoever won and claimed their prize got a very expensive fragrance, because this is really highly priced. So this is ROJA Parfums DIAGHILEV, big projection. Check it out. So we've got a fragrance from the house of MAITRE Parfumé et Gantier. Actually, we have two fragrances, and this is a new one for me in the collection, and this is one I've been wanting to get for a long time. And this one is massive with the projection. It's massive with the performance and the longevity. It's also massive with the sillage. This is SANTAL Noble. Wow, what a fragrance. What a big, beastly fragrance. It is massive. This is the kind of fragrance I like, intense. But I can't wear fragrances like this all the time. But if I want major projection, I want a big cloud with the sillage, and I want longevity, I would go with something like this, SANTAL Noble. It's a spicy sandalwood. Man, it's amazing. And a lot of the fragrances from this house are big, in your face, a big punch in your face kind of fragrances. And if you like them big and beefy, this is definitely one to try. So this is SANTAL Noble from MAITRE Parfumé et Gantier. And another one that I have reviewed quite a while ago, probably 3 years now, maybe 2, 3, and this is AMBRE MYTHIQUE, this one right here. Similar bottle, obviously, as you can see, but in the bottom is where they list the name of the fragrance. And here, this is AMBRE MYTHIQUE. Now this one is not necessarily similar to Ambre Pissot, and I didn't include that one because I found this one to be a bigger one, much more massive cloud and projection, because this one projects so big. It's so strong that I only need a few sprays. Otherwise, it chokes you, if that makes sense. It's intense. If you like them big and beefy and you like your amber, this is a powdery amber compared to the syrupy, molassesy amber of the MAITRE Parfumé et Gantier Ambre Pissot. But big cloud, big projection, massive longevity. This is AMBRE MYTHIQUE. Check it out. It is beast. Now I'm going to a freshie here from the house of NISHANE. This is their big popular freshie, and this one has a big cloud and a major projection and a minuscule amounts of sprays you need, because not only it has the big sillage and the big projection, it also lasts a long time. This is HACIVAT, this one right here, probably the only freshie in here, although I'm thinking BACCARAT Rouge has a bit of a freshie stylings to it. But wow, this one is awesome. Very sexy, classy fragrance, major compliment getter, crowd pleaser. But if you want the compliments, if you want the crowd-pleasing experience, you want to maybe control your sprays, because if you overdo it, people will actually not react positively to it, if that makes sense. So control your sprays, but man, it is big, it is huge, and I like it like that. I think it's because it's also created as an extrait, so it has major thickness, the fragrance itself, so you don't really need many sprays of this. It lasts a long time. So a lot of people also compare it to Aventus. If you like Aventus but you don't get great performance from it, you want more beast, this is one to try. They're not similar, but they're in the same neighborhood, if that makes sense. So this is HACIVAT, and this is from NISHANE. Check it out. A patchouli fragrance that I reviewed recently from the house of Parfums de Nicolai Parfumeur Creator. This is Patchouli Intense, and it's exactly that. It's an intense, big cloud, big projection. You only need a few sprays with it, but this is not your typical patchouli. It doesn't smell like a hippie head shop or things like that. This is very green and foresty, if that makes sense. It's a different direction for a patchouli. It's a unique patchouli. Nothing like this out there, because it's its own beast, if that makes sense. If you like them green, big, slightly powdery patchouli, that's not your traditional patchouli, and you want a showstopper, like you want to get attention with the cloud and the projection, Patchouli Intense is definitely one for you to try. This one's really big on me, so you only need a few sprays. So check it out. I have a review for this. We did a full bottle giveaway, and it's amazing. If you like patchouli, but you think patchouli can go very hippie, kind of 60s, psychedelic, things like that, but you want to experience patchouli, that's different, definitely check this one out. Next, I featured this one in a few other fragrance videos, the Beast Mode fragrance videos, the Sillage, and also I think it was in the Longevity. And this is from the house of Etat Libre d'Orange, and this is RIEN Intense Incense. This is a big beastly fragrance. It's a big cloud, major projection. You go easy on the trigger with this one. It is also animalic. It's a leather, it's incense, aldehydes, all mixed into this like really beastly performing fragrance. Again, really big fragrance. You only need a few sprays of this one and it'll get you all day. This is the intense version, obviously, as you can see written on here, and there is a regular version of this, and I have a comparison of the two with my friend Dahlia. If you're curious to watch it, just search for it. It's Etat Libre d'Orange RIEN Intense Incense. Now this one I had introduced to her and she loved it so much she went and bought it. I think she bought the not intense version though, so check that one out. Now this next one is a fragrance from the house of TIZIANA TERENZI, and this is Laudanum Nero. Big cloud, big smoky ashy cloud, but so good. A lot of people compare this to Black Afghano, but you know what, it's sort of like it, but it's completely different. I mean, I don't get the ashy quality that this one has in Black Afghano. They're completely different, but you know, in the same neighborhood, sort of like another fragrance I was talking about, the HACIVAT with Aventus and things like that. They're in the same neighborhood, but this one goes very ashy, smoky. It is one of those fragrances that's also very strong, so you only need a minimal amount of sprays, otherwise it chokes you, so you want to go easy on the trigger with this one. But if you like it smoky, burnt and ashy fragrances, check out Laudanum Nero. It's awesome. And I think what we had figured out is Laudanum Nero means black labdanum. I think that's what it means. Correct me if I'm wrong, but check it out. It's from TIZIANA TERENZI. It's an awesome release. All right, next up we're going to a house called Dear Diary and a fragrance called Mediterranean Breeze. This one right here. Now this one is so strong, so intense. It is an ambery patchouli. You've got to like your ambers and you've got to like your patchoulis. It's very syrupy, molassesy, and it's a big cloud. It's big projection, and all you need is a few amount of sprays. It can choke you because it's so strong. It is intense. Like these fragrances, from Dear Diary are really, really intense, so strong, and you only need a few sprays, if that, because a little goes a long way with this. I haven't been wearing a lot of this because it's just one spray, and sometimes when I overspray things, I just can't wear things like this. I want to go with freshies, more lighter fragrances, things like eccentric molecules, where it's hardly any fragrance there, if that makes sense. So if you like them beastly, if you like them intense, you like a big cloud, you like the big projection, longevity, check out Dear Diary's Mediterranean Breeze. It's an underrated house, but I think you can find them, so do search for them. Next up, we have a couple of fragrances from the house of Frederic Malle. This one is Monsieur, this one right here. Again, another patchouli fragrance, but this one goes in a different direction, but you can still smell the original patchouli that kind of sort of similar to head shop and hippie kind of things like that, psychedelic 60s. But this one goes into a more intense kind of leathery, spicy direction. It's really, really big. Big cloud, major projection, and a sort of unique patchouli. Not as unique as this, because this one is all green and definitely doesn't smell like patchouli, whereas this one does. But again, it's very, very unique compared to your traditional intense 60s patchouli. But a great, great release. I love this one from this house. It's pretty underrated too. When it first was launched, it was supposedly the male counterpart to Portrait of a Lady, but I think Portrait of a Lady is pretty masculine to begin with, and this one actually goes way more masculine. It's intensely masculine, and I don't think there's any rose here. I could be wrong though. But anyway, this is Monsieur from Frederic Malle, and speaking of Portrait of a Lady, this is it right here. This is awesome, but big cloud, major longevity, and a big projection, like big projection. Go easy on the trigger. Again, all of these fragrances that I'm talking to you about, just go easy on the trigger because they are intense, overly intense. A lot of designer fragrances don't come close to this, except for a few, but I left off Dior Homme Parfum because I've been featuring it too much. I'm going to mention it, but Dior Homme Parfum is a beast in the designer category, in the designer regular lineup category. Probably the best offering from Dior for me, like hands down the best, including Privé. But going back to this is all about spicy patchouli, rose, incense, and cinnamon, and cloves, and some light fruity touches with the raspberry. But amazing fragrance, amazing. If you want it big, check out Portrait of a Lady. And again, it's got a lady in the name. It's got lady in the name, but it's not feminine at all. It's pretty masculine to me. So check that one out. Go into the house of Parfums de Marly. This is Carlisle. One of those big fragrances from this house. It's intense. It's overwhelming, and a little goes a long way. It's a nice, soft, woody scent, but intense, if that makes sense. The cloud's big here. It's really, really overwhelming cloud. Go easy on the trigger with this one. This sillage is big, the projection is big, and the longevity is big as well. This has actually now become one of my favorites. It's top 3, if not top 2. Harrod is still my number 1, but this one is number 2, I think. Yeah, number 2. And then Latent Exclusive is number 3. But this one beats Harrod in the performance, including sillage, including projection, including longevity. This one is hands down the biggest, but I love Harrod because I just love that scent. It's a beautiful, beautiful tobacco, recently featured as the number 1 in my tobacco fragrances video. But if you want a big and beastly, check out Carlisle. In fact, a lot of people say this is kind of like a cross between Harrod and Latent, if that makes sense. But I don't know, maybe that's how some people experience it. But anyway, that's Carlisle. We're going to the house of Javoy, Incident Diplomatique, big beastly projection, big beastly sillage, and major longevity with this one. Incident Diplomatique is all about vetiver and patchouli. Now the patchouli here is nothing like the patchouli I've been talking about, but this is actually not a dominant patchouli note, whereas this is dominant patchouli. Monsieur is also a dominant patchouli, but this one, even though it's patchouli, it's equally balanced with vetiver. So you've got both balance of vetiver and patchouli, which makes a really, really unique fragrance because I love both of those notes, and the two together is magic. This one's a showstopper. People stop you on the streets and ask what you're wearing, and a lot of people react positively to it because I think it's vetiver. People tend to love vetiver, not necessarily as much with patchouli, but I think I react very positively to patchouli. Anyway, because of that, those compliments and things like that, I think this one has excellent projection. You leave a big cloud and the trail is amazing, and the longevity is awesome too. So that's Incident Diplomatique. I got two more Javois. I have Javois here because they're just really big fragrances. This one is private label. Again, this one is a vetiver, but this one is really dark, intense, overwhelming, masculine, slightly boozy, vetiver with I don't know, woody touches. There's papyrus in here. Really awesome. It's kind of like maybe there's a little bit of a tobacco touch in here too, but it's not about tobacco. It's just mostly about woody notes, vetiver, and papyrus. Just really awesome. But you do get the boozy quality with this one as well. If you like boozy, then try it. Because sometimes vetiver can go boozy. The vetiver that comes from Réunion, I think, is the island near Madagascar. So this is the third and final. This is psychedelic, and this one is another major projecting fragrance. Big projection, really big sillage, and of course major longevity. This is when you have to like the 60s patchouli. This is called psychedelic. It's, you know, hinting at the 60s, psychedelic 60s. But this is a very chocolatey patchouli. You can smell traces of chocolate undertones, and it's also very boozy. Like a chocolate liqueur comes to mind with patchouli. It's absolutely delicious, but really long lasting. Psychedelic, awesome fragrance. And we're gonna end the video with a fragrance from the house of Frank Boclet, and this is Cocaine. Now, I've talked about this a lot, and this one is big. So strong, so intense, so like nose blinding, if that makes sense. It's just really intense. So you get anosmic to this one if you overspray it. It's just really loud. It's a very masculine tuberose, but when you spray it, it comes off very sticky and intense and overwhelming. So a little goes a long way with this one, but truly an awesome release. It's very dusty, dry tuberose, but it's very masculine. There's also a little bit of a light bubblegummy undertone in here as well, but it's truly amazing. So this is it. Big projection, major sillage, and long longevity. That's Cocaine from Frank Boclet. So there you have it. Those are the fragrances featured in my top 20 Beast Mode projection video. What do you guys think? Do you know about these fragrances? Have you experienced the same projection, Beast Mode projection that I do? Or do you think these are not as big as other fragrances that you might have? If you have suggestions or recommendations, also please put them down. Or if you have any questions or comments, please put it down as well. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, there's a subscribe button below. Please click that so that you can subscribe to future videos, and we also do giveaways here. Other than that, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.